to call to order the April 7th, 2011 meeting of the Ascension Parish Council. Would everyone please stand for the invocation by the Reverend Willie Ford, pastor of St. Mary Baptist Church, and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Marvin Grove, president of Donkville Area Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
On our current state, we declare that in God we trust, and I just thought it would be fitting tonight to introduce a word from the written word, which is Paul writing to the Romans, the 13th chapter, verses 1 and 2a, and it reads, "Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The power that be ordained, they are of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God." Let us bow our heads. God our Father, we gathered at this hour, dear God. We come with our heads bowed and our eyes closed. And we come, dear God, in humble submission to you, giving you thanks for waking us up this morning and giving us a portion of our health and strength and allowed us to be clothed in our right minds. And Heavenly Father, as we come at this hour, we come, dear God, to ask your blessing upon this council meeting. We ask your blessing upon this council, dear God, and we ask your blessing upon each and every one that is under the sound of my voice right now. And dear God, we come asking you to remember Ascension Parish in the ways of mercy. We ask you not just Ascension Parish, but remember, dear God, your whole creation. And most of all, dear God, we pray that you remember our president and all our chosen elected officials, all the way down to our locals, dear God, that you will give them the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding of how to govern the people which was chosen by them, dear God, that they were chosen for the people and of the people. And we just pray tonight, dear God, whatever has been transpired here, that will be transpired in unity and in strength, and most of all, in brotherly love. We ask this in the precious name of Jesus our Christ, we pray, and then for all our sakes, amen, and thank God.
Thank you, Reverend Ford.
Face the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Grill. We'll move on to roll call. Madam Secretary, Councilman Bell's not here. He's sick. Councilman Dempsey Lambert's not here. He's got a family emergency. All others present. On chair's additions, the chair would entertain a motion to move the April 21st meeting up to Tuesday the 19th in lieu of the Easter holidays.
Motion, Chairman.
A motion by Mr. Benny Johnson, second by Mr. Kent Shake Snyder. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Councilman Cullen?
Yeah.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Joseph? Councilman Todd Lambert?
Yes.
Councilman Lower?
Yes.
Councilman Shake Snyder? Councilman Thompson?
Yes.
Councilman Valentine?
Yes.
We'll move this item to agenda item number 6A.
You have a 6A. 6B.
I apologize, 6B. Well, let me move it somewhere else. Let's move it to 8A. Get out of this business.
You got it, 8A.
I apologize. 8E. Trying to find a place to stay out of other committees, but we're gonna move it on the agenda. All right. With no further chair additions, just want to let everybody know, public comment period, that anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, please sign in with the secretary, and you'll be given time at the time that item comes up. We'll move to agenda item number 5, presentations. Proclamation for Flood Awareness Month. Mr. President.
That time of year again, so
Yeah, buddy.
we're gonna hopefully not get any floods as we did the last couple of years, and hopefully God blesses us in that way. But tonight we have Dietmar here from Emmett River Basin, and we want to do a proclamation to proclaim April 2011 as Flood Awareness Month in Ascension Parish. Whereas the Emmett River Basin has been substantially affected by floods in the past, can be expected to be affected in the future, and whereas some of the most devastating floods occur during the spring season of the year, and whereas the citizens, communities, and parishes within the Emmett River Basin has suffered substantial losses during these floods, and whereas the citizens and individual property owners should be aware of the measures which can be taken by themselves or through government to reduce the risk of flood loss. Now therefore it be proclaimed, I, Tommy Martin, as President of the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereunto proclaim April 2011 as Flood Awareness Month in Ascension Parish.
I'm going to be very, very brief.
Thank you.
And nice to see you again. I see you once a year here. It's very, it's very difficult to sell this when the sun is shining like it is shining right now. But we face this every year. We have this Flood Awareness Month. We do it in basically in three parishes, here, East Baton Rouge, and Livingston. And we're going to have one next Tuesday at the Prairieville Library. We invited the United States Geological Survey people. We invited the Weather Service, the Public Works Director, and basically that is to kind of have a good overview of the flooding issues and what have you, not only in this parish but in the basin. I might conclude by saying that yes, our commit project is still going on. It is very slow, has been very slow, but we think it's going to be, we're going to pick up speed in the next 2 or 3 years because we have changed some of the management with some of the activities and functions between the Army Corps of Engineers and us, and we're going to be, us and the state are going to take over the right-of-way acquisitions. We feel very positive that that is going to accelerate the schedule, so to speak. As I accelerate, it's going to hopefully get this project done in 5-6 years. So it's a long time, but that is the best that we can do. That's all what I have to say. Again, thank you very much. It's a beautiful day out there, and if you have any questions, please, I'm here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dietmar.
I don't like this. I'm switching back next time. So much better. Everybody.
Next, we'll go to proclamation, CASA Child Abuse Awareness Month.
Proclaim April 2011 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Ascension Parish. Whereas child abuse and neglect are complex and ongoing problems in our society, affecting many children in our community, and whereas every child is entitled to be loved, cared for, nurtured, feel secure, and be free from verbal, sexual, emotional, and physical abuse and neglect, and whereas it is the responsibility of every adult who comes in contact with a child to protect that child's inalienable right to a safe and nurturing childhood, and whereas Ascension Parish has dedicated individuals and organizations who work daily to counter the problem of child maltreatment and to help parents obtain the assistance they need, and whereas our communities are stronger when all citizens become aware of child maltreatment prevention and become involved in supporting parents to raise their children in a safe and nurturing environment, and whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships amongst families, social service agencies, schools, religious and civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community, and whereas all citizens, community agencies, faith organizations, and businesses will work to increase their efforts to support families. Now therefore it be proclaimed, I, Tommy Martin, as President of the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, by virtue of the authority vested in me,
to hereunto proclaim April 2011 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Ascension Parish. We have Stephanie here with CASA, who's here every year and does a wonderful job. Stephanie, thank you again.
And as you know, I come here every year, and I'm very glad that you're able to proclaim April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Little do people know that the child abuse rates have increased tremendously just within the past month. Right now, CASA, just in Ascension Parish, is serving 60 kids, and we have 5 kids that are still waiting for a CASA volunteer. That's not even all the kids that are in foster care right now. And so the work that our community does to make sure that our kids are safe is tremendous, and I pray that those numbers are only increasing because people are becoming more aware and reporting it more instead of more kids being abused. So thank you so much for your support.
Thank you very much.
How many volunteers?
We have 38.
Would you tell them how to become a volunteer?
Oh, to become a CASA volunteer, our volunteers are community members who we recruit, train, and supervise to work with the kids who are in foster care so that they have a voice in the courtroom instead of just being a name on a piece of paper. The judges get to know who they are and what's going on in their lives. To be a CASA volunteer, all you have to do is call our office, 647-2005. You don't have to have any education, no experience. All you have to do is have a passion for making sure that kids are safe.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a proclamation, Bike Month in Ascension Parish.
State of Louisiana proclamation to proclaim April 2011 as Bike Month in Ascension Parish. Whereas for more than a century, the bicycle has been an important part of the lives of most Americans. And whereas millions of Americans will engage in bicycling because it's a viable, environmentally sound form of transportation, an excellent form of fitness, and provides quality family recreation. And whereas the education of cyclists and motorists as to the proper and safe operation of bicycles is important to ensure the safety and comfort of all users. And whereas bicyclists of all ages throughout Ascension Parish and the state will be promoting greater public awareness of bicycle operation and safety education in an effort to reduce accidents, injuries, and fatalities for all during the month of April 2011. Now therefore it be proclaimed, I, Tommy Martin, as President of the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, by the virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereunto proclaim April 2011 Bike Month in Ascension Parish, and encourage motorists and bicyclists to learn and respect the rules of the road and follow the important message of the Capital Region Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Campaign. Don't be a road hog. This is from a grant, federal grant that's being administered through the MPO, through the Capital Region Planning, and we have someone here from Capital Region Planning.
Hello, I'm Courtney Macy from Capital Region Planning Commission, and this campaign that we're launching is for a $400,000 grant from LADOTD, and it's going to benefit East Baton Rouge, West Baton Rouge, Iberville, Ascension parishes, and Livingston as well. And we just recently started our ad campaign, which is featuring Mike Bitton, who is an LSU grad student. Last summer, he was hit while riding his bike on River Road, and he survived 5 brain bleeds, collapsed lungs, and so you'll start to see those commercials throughout during the evenings on TV. It's been featured this week on all 3 major TV stations. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have a proclamation, Autism Awareness Month in Ascension Parish.
Where autism is a lifelong developmental difference associated with significant alterations of an individual's ability to learn in the same way as others, which may include differences in social behaviors and communication, whereas autism, also known as autism spectrum disorders, affects people regardless of race, religion, socioeconomic status, or geography, and whereas the incidence of autism in the United States is approximately 1 in 110, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and whereas evidence suggests autism is the result of neurological abnormalities affecting the functioning of the brain, and few members of the general public understand this complex syndrome, and whereas persons with autism can be helped to reach their greatest potential, accurate early diagnosis, and the resulting appropriate education and interventions, as well as community acceptance and accommodations, are vital to the future growth and development of the individual. Now therefore it be proclaimed, I, Tommy Martin, as President of the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, by the virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereunto proclaim April 2011 as Autism Awareness Month in Ascension Parish. Sandra?
Thank you so much. I'm Sandra Trammell. I started the Ascension Parish Autism Support Group meeting back in 2008. When my daughter Mila was diagnosed back in 2005, back then there wasn't a support group in Ascension Parish. I had nowhere to go to. I didn't know where to turn to. So I decided to start my own support group, and it has been growing. Now we're affiliated with the Autism Society, the state chapter, as well as affiliated with Families Helping Families of Greater Baton Rouge. And Families Helping Families started an Autism Resource Center. We did our first autism walk last year, raised over $75,000 for our first walk. 1,600 people showed up that day, and this year we already have 1,600 people registered with our not with our corporate sponsors, but so far we have raised $75,000 to keep this program alive. The need is out there. So far we have about 3,000 families that have children with autism, as well as adults that's being diagnosed as well. Because I have a child that has autism, I am a resource for them. We do unbiased research and research-based knowledge. We give them give them the support that they need. Right now, our autism walk is this Saturday, April 9th, at the State Police Headquarters. Ascension Parish has been really awesome. Jenny Harriman from the ETEL Community Connections is our honorary chair. We have Ascension golf carts participating. Bateman Ice have been donating. A lot of people have gone above and beyond Ascension Parish in Ascension to do the best, and Ascension has been really out there, and they're the first out of all the regions to do a first proclamation for April for Autism Awareness Month. So thank you so much, Ascension Parish. It's really home to us, and we have more and more people coming out seeking for our help, and I just like to do outreach, and I love the support of the community. Thank you.
Excuse me. Excuse me, can we get a number to call? Could we get a number to call for the walk to more information?
If you want to register for the walk or to volunteer, you could go to www.fhfgbr.org. You could also call 216-7474 if you want to volunteer, register, or donate. All the proceeds stay local, and thank you so much for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have ACHS, Central Catholic High School, Boys and Girls Powerlifting Team Certificates of Achievement.
I'm going to ask the girls and the coaches to please come up and I'm gonna ask the coach to just tell us a little bit about this team and basically where they've been and what they've accomplished, and then we'll give out certificates. We'll read
Okay.
one and get it.
My name is Kirk Delott. I'm the head powerlifting coach at Ascension Catholic. Our girls, we've had a powerlifting team, so to speak, in our girls program for about 12 years now, but we've never had enough kids for the state to consider us an actual team. We had individual state champions throughout the years, but we've never had a full girls team to be able to have to be able to compete for a team state championship. This year, we were able to field a team. You have to have 11 kids. Well, you can have up to 11 kids to constitute a team. This year, we were able to field a full team, and in our first year as a full team, we were able to win the state championship. Our boys team ended up coming out third in state. We've had a pretty good tradition of boys powerlifting at our school. We've won a few state championships since the mid-'80s, but we've been down the last decade or so, but we were able to come out third, which is a good accomplishment for us. There was a lot of competition, but I'm real proud of these girls. We have a good mix of kids coming back, as well as the kids that were seniors this year. I'm real proud of these girls for the accomplishment they had, and I thank you for inviting us here tonight.
Thank you.
And I'm going to read one, and then I'm going to ask the coach to help me give out the certificates, and if Kent and Oliver want to come up. The Parish of Ascension is proud to present this certificate of achievement to Laura New and the 2011 Ascension Catholic High School Girls Powerlifting Team for winning the Class 1A State Championship under Coach Kirk Delott and Coach Chandra Ewan. We join Council Chairman Pat Bell and the entire Parish Council in congratulating these young women for their championship effort. Coach and Laura. Okay, we have Sydney Gregoire, Abby Delott, and Ken. Oh, okay, congratulations. Jillian Maul. Jillian. Maggie Schexnine. Rosalie Landry. Jeannie Zarang. Alice Dominique. Alice Dominique. Kara Jones. John. You know, no. I'm glad the coach is here. Meanwhile, congratulations on your Kurt, congratulations to you. It's your excellent job. Kurt, you want to just kind of stay up? We got the boys.
Well, I don't have the boys are not here tonight, so I'll accept them on their behalf.
Oh, you can do it tonight. We got this call.
Yeah, I'll just call them in.
They want to come tonight.
That's fine.
Coach Kirk Delott, Ascension Catholic High School Boys and Girls Powerlifting Teams, 2011, Class 1A first place for girls, 2011, Class 1A third place for boys. The Parish of Ascension is proud to present this certificate of achievement to Coach Delott for making a difference in the lives of the boys and girls of the Ascension Catholic High School Powerlifting Teams and their recent successes at the state meet for 2011. We join Council Chairman Pat Bell and the entire Parish Council in congratulating you for making Ascension Parish a better place to live, Kirk. Congratulations. any of the boys here, so we're just gonna recognize them. And Joshua Tragle, Taylor Landry, Trent Burgess, Taylor Tripode, Connor Sullivan, Blaine Falsetta, Joshua Longnecker, Parish Stewart, and Luke Alvarado, and Miles Idell, and Coach Chandra Ewing. And we appreciate you coming by, and thank you. I don't want to say any more. You need anything else? Are we forgetting anything?
Thank you all again, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
All right.
We'll move into agenda item number 6, Parish President's Report. Ascension Parish Animal Shelter Report.
Michael LeBlanc here, and basically we had an ordeal a while back with a dog being caught in a sewer pipe and got all over the news, and Mike got to be quite a hero, and I'd just like to let him give us a small report on that, and also ask you to keep Miss Jones' son-in-law in your prayers out there on Shivers.
Yes.
Her son-in-law has had surgery and now he's in critical care. Something happened during the surgery and it didn't go well. So anyway, keep her and her family in your prayers, please.
Thank you, sir.
Mike?
Good evening, Mike.
This is a human interest story. It actually got coverage all the way to CNN on national level. And what occurred was on 2/10 this year, we had a call about a dog being in a drain pipe, on the sewer line. It was a drain line. Norwood subdivision, Norwood Lake subdivision, and the line's up about 20 inches inside, and it's amazing the lines in there. And as you see right here, the dog is showing himself, and one of the manway covers is removed. But he had access to move all over. There were just miles of pipe in there. And so we monitored the situation for about 6 days. On the 7th day, we was able to isolate him, as you can see right here. And on the far end is where we were able to contain one side and the other. But the problem that we incurred was how we were going to get him to come out of the drain. He would constantly retreat back in. So it took some innovative thinking. And the story kind of takes a twist here. And you see a little bouncing ball? Well, that's some innovative thinking. And Mr. Fairchild worked diligently with us and his staff. So it turned into really something that was exciting about Ascension Parish, because it took on a whole new story. It showed cooperation by different departments, the DPW, the Sheriff Department, the Fire Department. Citizens were involved. And it really is a good story. As you can see right here, the ball's being placed down into the hole. And Ronnie brought in the big pump truck, you know. We put the ball on the end of the pump truck hose and started to move it down. Now, we wasn't sure this was going to work. This is creative thinking. As the ball just started to go into the line, the dog, bloop, he moved immediately to the drain, which we had secured and blocked off. And this is where the capture now is taking place. And it was real, everything just worked like you would draw it up on paper. It was really a surprising event. And without, again, the cooperation of everybody involved, this wouldn't happen. Now the story takes another step more. Some 4-H, a teacher, Miss Shannon Arsenault, with a 4-H group, had collected pennies. And it went way more than what she thought it was going to be. It went to like, I think, $1,500, which she established a deal at a vet's office for us to use this money for situations, and this is one that we used it on. Now, the dog since then has been adopted by Southern Foundation, which is a group in New Orleans, and this group has continued the vet care. Well, the happy ending to the story is the dog has made a recovery. He now has a name. His name is Madison, and he's going to go up for adoption pretty soon. So it was a pretty lengthy ordeal that occurred. And the final thing I want to say is I'm going to be a Bob Barker for 1 second. You know, Bob Barker used to always spay and neuter your pets. Well, this dog right here, nobody claimed it. Nobody knew who it was for. it was probably out in the wild for who knows how long. But just an interesting fact is, every day in this country, 10,000 babies are born. But every day in this country, 70,000 dogs and cats are born. So those numbers are so great, they'll never all find homes. It just won't happen. It's just not going to happen. The sheer number is overwhelming. So I just end this on a note of get the message out there. Spay and neuter your pets. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike, and we had several homeowners in that area. Every night the dog would cry and keep, so it got to be quite an ordeal. And so I want to thank Mike and the Animal Shelter for doing a great job on this, and it's a good, I guess, animal interest story. So that's all I have, Randy.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll move on to agenda item number 7. Right now, the chair would entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
The motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 8, A through D, Personnel Committee recommendations. Chairman Todd Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met and we had several board and commissions with reappointments and a couple with new appointments. The first one was Waterway Commission. We had 2 reappointments, Mr. Ronald Bro and Mr. John Tompla, and the board had a motion to move on these 2.
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Dennis Cullen, second by Mr. Drew a blank. Benny Johnson.
And also we had, Mr.
Motion
Sammy
passed.
Babbitt had passed away, so we had a application that came in a little bit late, but it's one that we had interviewed at a previous meeting, Mr. Colin Roger.
Yeah.
And we want to appoint him as a commissioner also. And that was a recommendation coming from the committee. He was the only applicant that we had for the.
We need to vote on one at a time.
Okay.
Let's vote on Mr. Ronald Bro first.
Okay, we need a motion on Mr. Bro. Motion by Mr. Dennis
I
Cullen.
second that.
Second by Mr. Benny Johnson. Motion passes.
Second, we'll vote on Mr. John Tompla.
John Tomplay, we have a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Oliver Joseph, second by Mr. Ken Shake Snyder. Motion passes.
And third, we'll vote on Mr. Colin Roger. So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Ken Shake Snyder, second by Mr. Dennis Cullen. Motion passes.
And next, we had all reappointments to Fire Protection District 3 with no new applicants. First one was Mr. Walter Leverage.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Benny Johnson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ken Shake Snyder. Motion passes.
Second was Miss Terry James Casso. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kent Shake Snyder, second by Mr. Oliver Joseph. Any objection? Motion passes.
And third was Mr. Jack Harris.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Betty Johnson, second by Mr. George Valentine. Motion passes.
Next, we had a couple reappointments to Fire Protection District Number 1 with no new applicants, both for reappointments. Mr. Charles A. Barrett.
So moved. We have a motion by Mr. Kent Shake Snyder, second by Mr. Oliver Joseph.
Second was Mr. Brent Smith.
So moved. Second.
We have, whose motion on that? Mr. Benny Johnson, second by Mr. Dennis Cullen. Motion passes.
Last one, we had a new appointment to the East Ascension Hospital Service District Board, and Mr. Keith Rush was the only applicant and was very impressive to
Motion.
move back on board.
We have a motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Dennis Cullen. Any objection? Any discussion? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, that is the end of my report.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 8E. We'll entertain a motion to move the April 21st meeting to Tuesday the 19th.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Chris Lohr, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Motion passes. We'll go to agenda item number 9, general business, amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between East Central Parish with the approval of Parish President Tommy Martinez and the East Central Consolidated Drainage District, number 1, in regard to procedures for entering into a new or renewed contract for professional service.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Benny Johnson. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Move on to number 10, fiscal year 2009-2011 capital outlay fund, Oak Grove Community and Recreational Center Planning and Commission FPC project number 50-J03-09-02, funding increase from $50,000 to $175,000. Ms.
Thank you,
Martha?
Mr. Chairman. Did you make a motion?
Sorry.
This is the capital outlay fund for 2009-2011, and due to the cost of it, we had to come to the council for approval to authorize the parish president to sign these documents and Ms. Gwen LeBlanc on all financials.
We have a motion by Mr. Lohr, second by Mr. Benny Johnson. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
Sir?
Agenda item number 11, FY 2010 Urban Areas Security Initiative, UASI award approval to accept funds and authorize Parish President Tommy Martinez to sign all required documents and Ms. Gwen LeBlanc, CFO, to sign financial request. Ms. Martha.
Yes, sir. This was an allocation from the Homeland Security area. We were funded $299,698, and we are requesting that the council accept the award and authorize parish president to sign these documents.
We have a motion by Mr. Benny Johnson, second by Mr. Chris Lohr. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Move on to number 12, Louisiana Homeless Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Grant Program Amendment. Ms. Martha.
Yes, sir. We came to the council in January with this contract, and since then, the state agency had some additional funds, and Ascension Parish was allocated $50,000 more. So we would like to, I have 2 resolutions for tonight. One is to ratify the signature to the amendment authorizing Parish President Tommy Martinez to sign and Ms. Gwen LeBlanc on the amendment between the parish and the state.
We'd entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Benny Johnson. Any discussion? Any opposition?
Okay.
Motion passes.
The second one is to have a resolution to allow the parish, for the parish council to authorize the parish president to enter an agreement with Church United, who is the sub-recipient of this grant.
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Valentine. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. We'll move into plan and zone recommendation. Mr. Ricky Compton, agenda item number 13.
Zoning Review ID 2141.11, Lot 9B1A being the re-subdivision of lots 9B1 and 7A, formerly a portion of the Thomas R. Cannon Senior property for Deborah C. Henderson, located on the south side of Merritt Evans Road, approximately 1,600 feet west of Joe Severia Road, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential to mixed use. The Planning Commission recommended denial of the rezone for review only.
Review only. We go to agenda item number 14.
Bullion Crossing, Plan Unit Development, Major Use Change, Site Plan Revision, Phase 1, 2, and 3, Quality Engineering Services, LLC, Council District 4, to accept or deny recommendation of the Planning Commission.
Motion to deny plan and zoning recommendation.
We have a speaker on number 14. I'd like to recognize Ms. Copper.
Good evening, Councilman.
Good evening.
The Commission first approved on September 12, 2007 Bullion Crossing, which had 98 single-family attached units or townhomes, 130 single-family detached units, and 11% of the 84.21 acres was light commercial. About 5 months later, the concept and developmental plan was revised. Again, on August 11, 2010, less than 2 years later, a major use change was requested, eliminating all commercial and attached single-family housing townhomes and decreasing the open space from 31.4 to 21.87 acres. The PUD would now consist of 216 single-family residences. 80% of these lots will be 50 feet wide. Staff recommended denial. Quote, "The application is not consistent with the adopted standards and regulations of the Unified Land Development Code, and more specifically, lack of housing variety in single-family lots is not consistent with general character," end quote. Bullion Crossing is now a major subdivision, yet because of the Planned Unit Development Ordinance, any developer who has a PUD approved is allowed to do anything he wishes after the initial concept approval, even to do things that are inconsistent with our codes. Citizens, take note. Tonight, the council will approve this PUD, which does not meet the requirements of Ascension Parish Code. The developer will be protected. The developer will be protected under the PUD ordinance to negotiate changes inconsistent with land use codes. Who is protecting the residents? This is another prime example of how the PUD ordinance can create a development nightmare for our community and this council. Thank you.
You have a motion to deny plan and zoning recommendation.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. Thompson, a second by Mr. Dennis Cullen. Any discussion? Mr. Lambert.
Mr. Ricky, if you could come up. And Ms. Tony, I think tonight we pretty much, this has already been approved as a PUD. So I think we have to pretty much move on as what legally, kind of the same way we had the previous one at 1 hour meeting. Yeah. The Bullion Crossing.
Yes, the development agreement.
Right. But, no, it's not?
No.
It's a major change.
It's just a major change. So, okay. But Ricky, I guess what I'm asking about a PUD, you know, it's supposed to be a certain amount of commercial, certain amount of residential, mixed-use homes, medium-sized, large homes, small homes, and maybe a possibility of a school and stuff. If we're kicking commercial out, is that still considered a PUD?
A PUD by definition doesn't involve a mixing of uses. A PUD by definition is wanting to change the zoning of a piece of property to do something that's not allowed by the current zoning.
Okay.
So a PUD can include a mix of uses. A PUD can include a smaller lot size than is allowed by the current zoning. A PUD can include a school. A PUD could be strictly commercial, but doing different commercial uses than is allowed by the underlying zoning category. So there's many different things that a PUD could be.
Yeah, and in the past, when it was presented to us first as a PUD, this is how it pretty much was sold to us, Charles Landry, on the previous administration. Basically, a PUD would help in infrastructure because it would be a unit development where you'd have commercial and you would have less traffic hitting the main roads because they would have shops and stuff to buy whatever, groceries, medical, you know, all different type of businesses, and it would prevent some impacts on the highways. But that ain't what's taking place nowadays with the PUD, is what I'm looking at. And I don't know if you agree with that, but you weren't there, you know, and that's how it was sold to us, that it would help the infrastructure. But if you put a lot of 50-foot lot homes and all, you know, it's definitely not going to help the infrastructure, you know, as far as impacts on transportation. And that's all I want to.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert.
Opinion from you on that, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick. Any other discussion? Mr. Valentine.
Yeah, and Mr. Lambert is correct, and Mr. Crompton is correct.
And that's one of the reasons why some of us essentially oppose PUD. But one thing about this PUD, it has been approved already. And the change, major change dealing with the school is, although may not be popular with some people, I think will service the community. Once again, and it's not the worst of two evils or the best of two evils. It's the fact that the developer has committed to do certain things. It is going to reduce the density slightly, but it's still not the best, in my opinion. But therefore, I think we need to move on and for it, instead of reverting back to the developers what he had originally, I think it'll be beneficial to the community.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
Can I speak real quick? I know. I just want to, you said some
You didn't
real
sign,
good things.
but,
Okay.
real quick, are you a resident of that area, sir?
No.
I would, okay, well then, we'll move on. We'll move on to public hearing and ordinances. Agenda item number 15. Order to declare surplus and authorize the sale of miscellaneous movable equipment.
This is to declare surplus and authorize the sale of miscellaneous movable equipment, whereas the Parish of Ascension has certain assets that are no longer viable to retain, and whereas the assets no longer serve or have any public purpose, and whereas the Parish of Ascension desires to declare said assets in surplus and provide for the sale and/or transfer of same. Whereas be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Council, acting in its capacity as the governing authority, that it hereby declares the listing of assets attached hereto and made a part hereof as Exhibit A as surplus and authorizes the sale and/or transfer of same.
Need a motion, public hearing?
Motion open, public hearing.
Motion open by Benny Johnson, second by Dennis Cullen. Anyone wishing to speak?
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Benny Johnson, second by Todd Lambert. Motion on the ordinance?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Move on to number 18, reading of the ordinance to amend the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2011 operating and capital budget for the Parish of Ascension adopted by the Ascension Parish Council on the 29th day of November 2010.
This is an ordinance to amend the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2011 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension adopted by the Ascension Parish Council on the 29th day of November 2010. Section 1, the Ascension Parish Council hereby ordains that the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2011 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension is hereby amended, approved, and appropriated as follows. East Ascension drainage expenditures increased to $670,000 for bulkhead construction on Bird Island Ditch, drainage board meeting on March 14, 2011, contract payments $300,000. Criminal court fund expenditures increased to $140,500 for transfers to fins. Other finance uses $57,000 and acquisitions $57,000. Fins fund revenues increased to $140,500 for transfer in from criminal court fund. Criminal court fund is $57,000. Expenditures to the truancy program are $57,000. Fire District Number 1 fund expenditures, acquisitions, buildings and land $700,000. Transfers out $700,000. Fire District Number 1 construction fund revenues transfer in $700,000. Expenditures, contract payments $700,000. Recreation A, expenditures, transfer out Park Construction Fund, $195,000. Park Construction Fund revenues, transfer in Recreation A, $195,000. Expenditures, professional services, $10,000. Contract payments, $175,000. Miscellaneous expense, $10,000.
Motion for public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Benny Johnson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Motion to close.
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion to close.
All right.
Looks like we got some speakers. Ms. Goppert.
Yes, good evening again. This council, 4 months ago, on 11/29/2010, approved the operating and capital budget for 2011 of $115,409,150, approximately $63 million for operating expenses and $52 million for capital projects. According to reports from the financial department, the fiscal year begins on January 1 and ends on December 31st, not on July 1st, as the CAO Beth James recently stated in a meeting. Outstanding debt of 1/1/2011 was $81,805,000. It will cost almost $7 million in 2011 to service the debt. Amendments. It's a shell game. Money is moved from fund to fund seamlessly. This year's general fund is almost $16 million. $1 million more than last year, and expenditures for personnel are up almost $1.5 million. But the administration is claiming that the budget has been cut. Your general fund summary shows you will spend close to $16 million with an ending fund balance of over $1 million at year's end. Tonight, you are considering Budget Amendment 1, or the first amendment for this budget. This amendment will do the following. Add $300,000 to existing $370,000 for a total of $670,000 in contract payments for the bulkhead on Bird Allen Ditch. Transfer $57,000 from the Criminal Court Fund for acquisition of vehicles to families in need of services, or FINS, for a truancy program. The Criminal Court will still have $218,000 for acquisition of vehicles. Transfer $700,000 from Fire District 1 Construction Fund to Fire District 1 Construction Fund to purchase the Pelican Point building. Transfer out $195,000 from the Park Construction Fund to Recreation A for a skate park. $10,000 for professional services, $175,000 for contract payments, and $10,000 for miscellaneous expenses. In your next budget amendment, consider the $26,000 budgeted for miscellaneous expenses from the general fund in
Please
3
wrap it up,
departments.
Ms. Gopp.
General administration, executive administration, and parish promotion, to find the $28,000 for the master plan review. Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Samantha Thibodeau.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'll try to keep mine brief. After reviewing the budget for the 2011 expenditures for Ascension Parish, I noticed a trend. After being told that there was a 5% decrease overall for the departments, I noticed that the Finance Committee went from $418,000 to $430,000 for salaries. Human Resources, $165,000 to $172,000. Executive Administration, $160,000 to $290,000. General Administration, $186,000 to $203,000. But we can't find $28,000. But the one thing that was cut was the appropriations from the general fund. Community Opportunities of East Ascension apparently needed $5,000 in 2010, but don't need anything in 2011. Quad Area, $12,000, cut to $9,600. Capital Area Legal Services from $17,000, cut to $13,600. National Guard East and West from $3,000 to $2,400. Volunteer Ascension, $25,000 to $20,000. Service officers, $15,600 to $12,400. Battered Women's Shelter, $20,000 to $16,000. Obviously, our services don't need the money, but the salaries of the administration do.
Thank you. Motion to close public hearing. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion to close by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Close.
Motion to move the ordinance.
We have a motion to move the ordinance by Mr. Lohr.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dennis Cullen. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Move on to agenda item number 23, reading of the ordinance to acquire a parcel of immovable property for Ascension Parish for the purpose of fire protection.
This is to acquire a parcel of immovable property for Ascension Parish government for the price of $700,000 for the purpose of fire protection. Be it ordained, the Ascension Parish Governing Authority authorizes the purchase of a parcel of property situated in the parish of Ascension more fully described as follows. 1.324 acres in a light industrial office type building identified as tract M-1-A-1, Donaldson Clark Plantation, and being part of Pelican Point Golf Community, located at 5473 Highway 44, Gonzales, Louisiana 70737. The ordinance is being adopted in conformity with Section 6-01 of the Ascension Parish Charter. The purchase of the property is subject to approval by the parish attorney and contingent upon the seller being able to deliver a merchantable title. Tommy Martinez, Parish President, is authorized to sign all necessary documents on behalf of the parish.
Motion to open public hearing.
Motion to open public hearing by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Benny Johnson. No speakers. Motion closed by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Benny Johnson.
Move the ordinance, Mr.
We'll move on the ordinance, Mr. Benny Johnson to move it, second by Mr. Dennis Cullen. Any discussion? Any opposition? Ordinance is moved. Move to agenda item number 24, development agreements, SPUD 11-01DA for Parisian Villas and Lafayette Center, SPUD.
Be it known that on the dates herein, as executed by both parties, an agreement was made between the Parish of Ascension, hereafter identified as Parish, and Legend Homes, Inc., hereafter identified as owner, to allow construction of a planned unit development with special stipulations that shall run with the land and be of a personal obligation to each party. Whereas Ascension Parish is a local governmental subdivision as defined by Article 6, Section 44 of the Louisiana Constitution of 1974. And whereas the Parish of Ascension is the governing and responsible body over the zoning and regulations within this jurisdiction. And whereas the development agreement is prepared consistent with the authority of Louisiana Revised Statutes 334780.21, Subpart and Appendix 6, Section 17-6010B of the Ascension Parish Land Development Code, and whereas Legend Homes, Inc., the owner of the Parisian Villas and Lafayette Center development property, has submitted and received an approval with conditions on the concept plan identified as Parisian Villas and Lafayette Center SPUD by the Parish Council with conditions on March 13, 2008. And whereas the Parisian Villas and Lafayette Center SPUD was processed and approved consistent with Appendix 6 of the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code. Whereas this development agreement was reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission. Whereas the final development agreement was reviewed and approved by the Parish Council. Whereas the parish and owner came to an agreement to permit and regulate the development identified as Parisian Villas and Lafayette Center SPUD, and said agreements, conditions, obligations, and otherwise terms are outlined below. And whereas the sale of one of the lots in Lafayette Center is anticipated to occur prior to the final approval and recordation of this sale. Now therefore, the following considerations, terms, conditions, and obligations are agreed to, understood, and accepted by the owner. Parisian Villas. Access shall be granted from LA Highway 929 Brough Road and shall be in line with Rhonda Avenue. Access for future development to the west shall be guaranteed connection to Rue Royale. Landscaping shall be consistent with approved landscaping plan included in SPUD development package. Perimeter landscaping shall be completed by owner prior to final inspection. Street tree planting shall be installed prior to the completion of the adjacent lot. Home builders shall construct 4-foot wide sidewalks with each home prior to CO from side property line to property line adjacent to the front boundary within the appropriate sidewalk servitude. The sidewalk shall be placed within the 5 feet wide sidewalk servitude adjacent to the 12-feet utility servitude. Homeowners Association documents shall include the necessary language to require that each lot construct sidewalks with the construction of improvements for each lot. The sidewalk shall be the property of the homeowners association, and the homeowners association document shall reflect that. The sidewalk shall be constructed meeting the ADA standards. The sidewalk shall be constructed using 3,500 PSI concrete 4 inches thick. The sidewalk shall have expansion joints every 25 feet with control joints every 5 feet. Walking trails shall be constructed by owner prior to final inspection as depicted in the SPUD development package. Walking trails shall be 4 feet wide by 3 inches thick and cut into the existing ground and shall be constructed of aggregate. Tot lot. Owner shall dedicate the area designated as tot lot in the SPUD development package for recreational use of the residents of Parisian villas. Playground equipment shall consist of elements for a variety of age groups. Owner shall dedicate $25,000 for the purchase and installation of playground equipment. The installation of the playground equipment and supporting elements on the tot lot shall be completed prior to the issuance of the 13th CO of the subdivision. Owner shall dedicate .208 acres of land as designated as Tract F in the SPUD development package. This shall be done by quitclaim deed recorded in the clerk of court prior to the recordation of the final plat. Owner shall be responsible for maintenance of the common areas until such time a homeowners association is created and legally takes over that responsibility. A solid 6 feet tall, 100% opaque fence will be built around the entire perimeter of the residential portion of the project. Sewer treatment plant will be located behind an 8-foot tall fence. Owner will provide a metal gate with a number pad for ingress and egress of the residents of Parisian villas at the 2 locations depicted in the SPUD development package. Homes shall be constructed consistent with the schematic home elevations depicted in the SPUD development package. All homes must have a 2-car garage. All homes must have a brick and/or masonry facade on the front side. Owner shall construct a monument-style entry sign at the location depicted in the SPUD development package prior to final inspection. The structure of the entry sign shall be brick and/or masonry facade similar to architectural features of the proposed home. The entry sign shall be completed prior to the issuance of the 13th CO of the subdivision. LaFace Center. Building area shall be limited to 59,800 square feet as per the SPUD development package. A minimum of 1 parking space shall be provided for every 200 square feet of building. Handicap spaces shall be provided per ADA guidelines. No pavement other than the access drive shall be constructed within 75 feet from the center line of LA Highway 42. 1 access drive shall be constructed on LA Highway 929 Grove Road and shall be in line with La Rochelle Road. 1 access drive and deceleration lane shall be constructed along LA Highway 42. Landscaping shall be provided according to the approved landscape plan in the SPUD development package. Landscaping shall be installed prior to issuance of the CO for the area of parking building constructed. Owner shall construct 3 entry signs at the locations depicted in the SPUD development package with 1 sign on tract A3 and 2 signs on tract A2. A solid 6-foot tall, 100% opaque fence will be built along the western edge of the commercial portion of the project. This fence will be removed as needed for proposed connection as depicted in the SPUD development. Owner will screen the garbage and refuse containers with a solid 6-foot tall, 100% opaque fence and gates. Total site, all erosion control measures shall remain in place and properly maintained as described in the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, submitted to the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality in the Parish of Ascension until the notice of termination is submitted and accepted by the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality. Owner shall ensure that this development adheres to the approved drainage impact study. And further, the following considerations, terms, conditions, and obligations are agreed to, understood, and accepted by the parish. Variances have been granted from the current Unified Land Development Code as follows. Lot width table B from minimum 70 feet wide to 50 feet wide with curb and gutter, only in locations identified on the master plan. No lot shall be smaller in width than 50 feet as measured by the code. Section 17-604, the Parisian Villa zoning district shall be limited to 26 residential lots. Parish grants SPUD zoning approval contingent with the density, setbacks, heights, land uses, etc. as outlined in approved master plan approved by ordinance on March 13, 2008. In the event that any portion of this agreement is ever held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision and shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of the agreement. Default violation. Any act of violation or lack of fulfillment to any obligation herein shall be deemed a breach of contract and shall nullify the agreement in entirety until such agreement is brought back into compliance by either party. In the event of a default violation or expiration of the agreement, a stop work order is ordered by this agreement. No work or permit shall continue until the agreement is brought into compliance or the work being sought is brought into compliance with this agreement. This agreement shall follow the following general provisions. This agreement is and shall constitute a contract under and in accordance with the laws of the state of Louisiana. This agreement may not be changed or terminated orally. This agreement and the rights, interests, and obligations of owner under this agreement may be assigned, sold, or delegated by owner to any party without the prior written consent of the parish, so long as the transferee recognizes this agreement in the act of transfer and assumes the obligations of owner under this agreement as the property so transferred by owner to transferee. Upon the assignment, sale, of transfer by owner according to this agreement, the owner will be relieved of the responsibility or obligations arising under this agreement as to the property so assigned, sold, or transferred. Upon full execution of this agreement, the owner shall have this agreement recorded in the clerk of court within 7 business days. A certified recorded copy shall be provided to the Parish Planning and Development Department within 7 days from recording. Amendments may only be made with both parties agreeing in writing and recording. No other change in regulation, jurisdiction, or outside third-party influence shall affect this agreement. This agreement shall not expire and shall run with the land, the owner, and parish. Modifications to this agreement shall require both parties' execution and recordation of agreed action to this agreement. The parish shall retain the authority to terminate this agreement at such time obligations are met. Official termination shall be filed in the clerk of court official records. Exhibits A is the ordinance for the rezoning of the SPUD, and B is the exchange of the property map. And now into these presents came and appeared Prairieville Real Estate Ventures LLC, who appears solely for the purpose of acknowledging the SPUD development package requirements and restrictions applicable to the Faith Center, and consents to be bound thereby insofar as they affect Tract A3 or other portions of the LaFace Center. It is a, okay, that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Need a motion for public hearing?
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second. Second by Mr. Thompson. Speakers, motion closed.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Chris Lohr, second by Mr. Todd Lambert.
Motion to move the ordinance.
We have a motion to move the ordinance by Mr. Chris Lohr,
Second.
second by Mr. Dennis Cullen. Any discussion? Any opposition? Ordinance is moved. We'll move to agenda item number 27, reading of the ordinance to revoke the 12-foot utility servitude running along the east and west property line of Lot 2 of Donaldsonville Technology and Industrial Park, Phase 1.
The purpose is to revoke the 12-foot utility servitude running along the east and west property line of Lot 2 of Donaldsonville Technology and Industrial Park, Phase 1, as shown on a map entitled Final Plat of Donaldsonville Technology and Industrial Park, Phase 1, being Tract 1A and Tract 3 of the CF Industries, Inc. Property for City of Donaldsonville Industrial Development Board by G. Wayne Sledge, PLS, dated October 15, 2001. Be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Council as the governing authority for the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, in lawful session, hereby revokes that 12-foot utility servitude running along the east and west property line of Lot 2 of the aforementioned property. All other public servitudes affecting said property are hereby revoked.
Thank you, ma'am.
Motion to open public hearing, Mr.
We
Chairman.
have a motion to open public hearing by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Dennis Cullen. Anyone wish to speak?
Motion to close. Mr.
Motion to
Chairman.
close by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Dennis Cullen. We entertain a motion on the ordinance.
Motion.
The motion by Mr. Oliver Joseph, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Before we move on to agenda item number 30, I just want to quickly thank Reverend Ford and President Marvin Grove for coming. Officer Demby, the workers that set up, we really appreciate you guys that set these meetings up all the time. The technical crew, the council staff, we appreciate y'all putting up with some of our stuff, and the administration staff and the parish president. We thank you very much. We will move to agenda item number 30.
Motion adjourned.
We have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Benny Johnson. We are adjourned.